Started off as a technique talk. All right. Well, welcome back. Level Up Grappling Podcast. Three amigos are here. And we're going to do some technique talk. We'll field some questions, but I want to start off with this. So something recently happened that was, I thought, very cool. And I want to encourage all you listeners to do the same, because I think you get caught in the weeds with a whole bunch of submission stuff. So Rafael Lovato Jr., very famous jiu-jitsu guy. He's won everything. Literally, the guy's won everything. I think silver medal in ADCC. He's won every single championship you could win. He was a mixed martial artist for a while, and he was very, very successful. I think he was undefeated in MMA. So he got into freestyle wrestling recently over the last couple of years, and he's been winning. And I want to commend Rafael, even though he's not on the show. I'll reach out to him, see if he wants to come on. I want to commend him for jumping into a new grappling art and competing. And he's no spring chicken. The guy's like 42 years old. And he decided, hey, I want to learn wrestling. And he's been competing and he's been winning. Very successful. He just won again. And I think it's very important that we talk about why it's important to add wrestling into your submission game. I mean, this is like
it's a no-brainer.
It should be a no-brainer, Mark. It really should be a no-brainer. But
I understand what you're saying.
Doesn't go.
There is sort of a separation or some that keeps wrestling and submission holds separate. There's not a lot of people that combine them like we do.
Yeah,
which is, I think it's strange to me. But I can also see that, if you want to be really good at something, you have to practice that something more than you practice anything else. And, if you want to be good at wrestling, you got to stay within the rules of wrestling. And I think that's very beneficial to have a set of rules like we have in wrestling and boxing and jiu-jitsu, because in order to get good at some skill, like let's say I want to get better at punching, well, what would I do? I'd start learning how to box. So I would stay within the rules of boxing to learn how to punch. If I didn't stay within the rules, I would be hurting my ability to learn. So I think that's the important thing about these rules, these sports that specialize, like wrestling and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and boxing, Muay Thai. If you want to learn how to kick, and Adam knows all about this, he's world champion. He's Muay Thai. You want to kick a knee and elbow, that's the thing to learn. But if you were to, by combining them all and trying to teach somebody a style that combines them all together at once, you can learn a lot, but you can learn more by specializing within each sport and then combining them afterwards. That's what I did. That's my only experience. So that's why I'm in favor of it, because I don't know anything else.
I would agree. I was the same. The grappling side of things, started in wrestling, specialised in wrestling, still continue to coach wrestling. All my guys that come and train here at my gym learn wrestling first. Once they've got good wrestling, they've competed wrestling, they've got sound basics, good fundamentals, and they're actually competent wrestlers, then I'll start teaching them how to submit people.
I think people jump to submissions too soon. And, I've had people complain, either to my face or behind my back saying that, well, I don't teach enough submissions. I'm like, here's the thing. You don't know how to control somebody on the ground. So why are you focusing on what the submission is or what the finish is when you don't even know how to control somebody on the ground first? And let's reverse engineer that one step back. You don't even know how to put them on the ground. So if number one, you can't put somebody on the ground at will. And then number two, once you're on the ground, you can't keep them on the ground and keep them in the position that you want them to be in. Why are you worried about what you're going to do to their arm or their neck or their leg? You're not there. You're simply not there. And Adam and I actually had this discussion the other day, and we had this marked to discuss. And so, Mark, I'd love your input too. We've even noticed this with catch wrestling, right? So there's there's this kind of resurgent interest in catch wrestling, and people are adding in a lot of catch wrestling influenced submissions into their jiu-jitsu game. But even with catch wrestling, guys don't spend a lot of time focusing on wrestling, the actual mat wrestling and the actual takedowns. And I'm going to add this because I've trained with a lot of people. Okay. I've trained with a lot of people that taught catch wrestling that were amazing catch wrestlers, but the takedowns they were showing or the setups they were showing were setups only for predetermined matches. It would work great in pro wrestling. Beautiful takedowns, amazing takedowns. But the minute you have somebody really kind of scrambling on you or pushing back or defending, the takedown's not going to work. Okay. So I think it's really important.
You're talking about pro wrestling takedowns?
Pro wrestling takedowns, because you got to remember, Mark, a lot of catch wrestling takedowns.
You're talking about fake pro wrestling or real pro wrestling?
Predetermined matches. So you use the word fake. I hate using the word fake because there's still a tremendous amount of physical interaction, but yes, like doesn't matter if it's Japan or WWE or whatever. When you look at the evolution of catch wrestling from, 1700s, 1800s, early 20th century, pre-1904 wrestling that had submissions. But then when we get to them taking submissions out of amateur wrestling, right? And Mark's been trying to get it back in, but they don't want it. But when you look at what happened at the turn of the 20th century and the introduction of predetermined what we call worked matches, there's a lot of takedowns and throws that wouldn't necessarily be your first choice or wouldn't necessarily be as effective if you had a competent wrestler wrestling you back, right? And putting that pressure on you back. And I think what we've seen in the catch wrestling world is guys are so focused on certain exotic submissions, and they're cool, but they don't even focus on how to wrestle somebody to the ground and wrestle somebody to the ground effectively. Wouldn't you agree, Adam? I know we were literally just talking about this, but
yeah, look, part of the problem is that I think, I don't know whether it's the internet or whether it's a misconception that goes around about catch wrestling, that catch wrestling, people are looking at it as something that it's not. And I think it's let me define it. Yeah. Catch wrestling per se is freestyle / folk style wrestling where the turnovers that are used to turn someone onto their back to pin them are actual submissions by putting the same turnover on and then not allowing the person to turn. That is classic catch wrestling. That's the difference. The takedowns and the effective takedowns of catch wrestling are the same takedowns that are used in Greco, the same takedowns that are used in freestyle, the same takedowns that are used in collegiate. It's double legs, it's singles, it's suplexes, it's shoulder throws, arm spins, all that sort of stuff. 100% that is catch wrestling. Yeah, the WWE and the fake stuff, that's where it was all sort of, after they took the submissions out of amateur wrestling, they left them in professional wrestling. Yeah, and then slowly over time, professional wrestling became the big business that it is, where it ceases to be about wrestling and more about a show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's more of let's face facts, and people probably don't want to hear it, especially pro wrestlers. but it's a fact. I coach pro wrestlers, up until recently, and I canned it because I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have the time. But let me say this: the pro wrestling nowadays is not about wrestling. Okay, it's a stunt show. That's what it is. It's a stunt show. They're stuntmen, amazing athletes, all that stuff. Are they wrestlers? No. If somebody knows how to do a chicken wing crossface or a sharpshooter or a clover leg or something, they're considered an amazing technical wrestler. Why? Because they know one fucking hold. But this is how it is in pro wrestling now, yeah? Because they actually know a wrestling hold and can use it, they're considered an extremely technical wrestler. And whilst I'm a firm believer, as you know, through my guys that I learned catch wrestling and stuff off, I'm a firm believer about how pro wrestling saved it and preserved it. But that was back in the 60s and 70s and 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. Not now. After what I called the Hogan era, where it became just a sideshow, yeah, and about the entertainment value and Hulkamania running wild and shit like that. And Hulk Hogan could not wrestle. Like, let's face it, Hulk Hogan couldn't wrestle for shit. If you got Hulk Hogan and put him in a freestyle match, you'd get fucking eaten. Yeah, he'd be someone's breakfast. You imagine Mark Schultz.
Especially Kurt Angle.
Imagine Mark Schultz or Kurt Angle getting a hold of Hulk Hogan in a freestyle match. Like, seriously.
That was really...
It's got to be realistic, yeah?
Straight.
The defining principle of catch wrestling, and what I say, and this is my take on catch wrestling, and listeners can take it, leave it, do whatever they like with it, I don't really care. For me, freestyle / folk style wrestling is catch wrestling. It is catch wrestling. All the half Nelsons and the arm hooks and arm bars and all that sort of stuff that people use to turn people over in wrestling to pin them. If I get a half Nelson and really crank you to turn you over onto your back, but then hook the opposite, so use a power half, it becomes a twister, right? If I hook your leg, it becomes a spine. That's the principle of catch wrestling. That's all it is. As I use a turnover and stop you turning with it, it becomes a submission. That's it.
That's a good point. Like, I mean, you could, the full Nelson has been banned in freestyle and folk style for as long as I can remember. But the rule in freestyle is you can't grab your own hand to do it. So my brother I think he was wrestling some Russian guy in the finals of I think it was the US Open, and he got a full Nelson, and then he grabbed his wrist like this, and the referee said, "That's a full Nelson," and he told him to break it, and Dave argued with him while he's wrestling. He goes, that's not the rule. I'm touching my wrist. And so they let it go, and Dave ended up, I think, murdering his opponent or something. I don't know what happened.
So I teach all my guys, Mark, you can't use a full Nelson. It's illegal. Don't use it. So I teach them to use a full stockade.
What? A full, wait a minute. I didn't get that. What happened?
Full stockade.
Full what?
Stockade, we call it. A full stockade. So if you think half Nelson, I'm behind the guy, and I've got two underhooks from behind to the back of the head, that's a full Nelson. Change your position and go in front of the person, so like a front headlock. Then overhook both arms and lock your hands behind his head. It's like a reverse full Nelson.
Oh, I see.
And they can't call it.
Yeah.
It's not a full Nelson. They can't call it. It does exactly the same thing and puts the same amount of pressure, but they can't call it. So that's what I tell all my guys to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And the further you
I did
push
that
their
to
head
Walt
under-
Bayless one time.
Yeah, well, there you go. The further you push their head under and walk them back, they pin themselves. They're bent over, like over their neck.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did to Walt, and he's so funny about it. Walt is about just an incredibly tough, skilled jiu-jitsu sambo guy, and he was a wrestler too. I think he was third in the state of California in high school, but I got him in one of those front fulls, and he was like sitting on his butt, and so I'm trying to use my chest to push his head down
Oof.
towards his butt while he's like being, like a clamshell or something.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he never let me forget that. He thought I would, like, I don't know, he thought I hurt him permanently, but I don't know. Back then, this was just when this was like 1993 or 4, when the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just came to America, and it was almost like, and the way they promoted it was no rules. Well, that wasn't true, but to promote it like that created this atmosphere in America among elite fighters that we're returning to the Roman gladiators, and it's going to be brutal. And I mean, it's like this is the beginning of the downfall of American society, and so we didn't really know. Well, there were, we didn't really know. If someone doesn't the only thing that controls a grappling session is if somebody taps. Well, sometimes, like with that front full Nelson, it's very difficult to tap out when your arms are being trapped over your head like that. So, anyway, Walt Bayless is super tough. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's just incredibly tough and conditioned, technical. He knows sambo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And anyway, if you're out there, Walt, I hope you're doing good. I forgot what we were talking about.
Just adding well, no, here's the thing. I'll put a little bow on it. It's very simple. You have people that are kind of ignoring, let's just look at catch wrestling. They say they're catch wrestlers. They're focusing on the catch and not the wrestle part, right? They're always focusing on the rip, the submission, a variation of a particular submission, but they're not focusing on proper takedown efficiency, and they're not focusing on mat wrestling. And then with jiu-jitsu guys, they're ultra obsessed over submission variations, and a lot of them, if they are getting any wrestling education at all, it's really hack technique. Otherwise, they're just trying to pull guard, and they're not focusing on learning takedowns at all or wrestling out of positions, which I think is incredibly useful, right? Learn how to, instead, I have a new guy that started with me recently. It's nice because he's had zero grappling experience, but he was a football player in high school, and he's been boxing for like a year. I was like, well, you got your stance down. I could just make a very slight adjustment to your stance and you're perfect. And you have the durability of football and you know how to move your body. And the way he's picking things up, it's incredible, because I go, here's how we start. We're starting on the feet. We're working our way down. And he had asked me, what about if my friend tries to do a submission on me? I go, don't worry about it. I go, I'm going to teach you how to control them to the point where it'll be nullified. But really getting people to understand the value of having a strong wrestling base. It's
wrestling
a bit of a challenge.
No, you're right. Since the UFC came along, they've exposed the value of wrestling as not that it's a valuable martial art, even though it is. They've exposed it for the value of how effective it is to have wrestling as a foundation. The wrestling as your foundation it's the most dominant kind of foundation you can have, because in real life, if you're talking about martial arts in real life on the street, wrestlers are usually going to get the takedown,
Mm-hmm.
and surfaces are usually hard.
Mm-hmm.
Not they're not. You're not in a mat room anymore. So that's uh, that's just one more reason why you should make wrestling the foundation of your martial art. But the conditioning that wrestlers have is really the secret to winning fights, because it doesn't matter what techniques you know if you don't have the conditioning to execute those techniques when you're when you're both tired. It doesn't matter what you know. So
Hmm.
conditioning wins in wrestling. And then, but you got to have like Adam is a world champion boxing and Muay Thai. You got to have strikes or to round out your martial art, because you're gonna confront more than one person once in a while. You need to knock one of them out so you can submit the other one or whatever. It's good for multiple enemies or opponents. Your striking skills. If all you can do is grapple, you're in trouble. But just because you're a good wrestler or a good grappler doesn't mean you can't hit or
Mm-hmm.
kick hard. Most wrestlers can hit and kick harder than 99% of the people in the world. But I'm obviously biased, but I also am looking at the UFC champions. If you looked at the UFC champions, I think about, I don't know, 30 something are wrestlers and like 20 something are Brazilian Jiu Jitsu guys, and then boxing, I think, comes next. Muay Thai comes next. But those top four martial arts, those are the ones you want to learn. Um, I wish I knew Muay Thai better. The way they kick is so much better than the way like Taekwondo guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, Taekwondo is incredible. Look at Joe Rogan, how hard he can do that spinning back kick. It's incredible. So they know how to kick too, but there's something about the mentality of the Thai people and those Muay Thai fighters. They're kind of like wrestlers. A lot of them are like wrestlers. They just have that conditioning,
Hmm.
work ethic, just
And I think
discipline,
I
pain
would agree with you,
tolerance.
man. I would agree with you. They're hard. They're bred hard in Thailand. I've been there, trained there, fought
Mm-hmm.
there. Those guys are hard. Like 14-year-old kids there will do give you a hard time in sparring. You know what I mean? Look, and you're right. The conditioning of wrestling and stuff like that helped me immensely when I transitioned to striking to learn to strike because I wanted to learn to strike. Um, and because I'd already had that mental discipline of wrestling, the contact, that live testing, the getting bumped over and over and over again, you sort of get a pain tolerance and a bit of I guess, a familiarity with discomfort, getting comfortable with discomfort. It made a transition to striking. I won't say easy. It was very hard to learn coming from a grappling to a striking thing, but it still made it a lot simpler, I think, than for a lot of people because or I guess I was already an athlete training in a combat sport with a high level of contact. So the transition was quite simple. But I think everybody, any grappler needs to learn to strike, and any striker needs to learn to grapple, and that's the bottom
Yep.
line. And if you're
What was your first sport, Adam?
wrestling,
Your first sport,
wrestling,
wrestling. That's what I thought.
yeah, yeah. But I think, look, if we're talking about a martial arts journey or base, I don't think any of the, I mean, major martial arts are going to do you bad. Yeah, I don't think that some are better for some
You know,
things. than
there's
others,
always something to learn.
but there's always something to learn. And the minute you say you know it all, it tells the world you're a fool.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Adam, look at what's his name? Alex Pereira, right? The guy's been middleweight champion, light heavyweight champion. The guy's a kickboxer, but they're putting together, good wrestling for him and
I
jiu-jitsu
think
and
it's
stuff like that.
important. I think it's important that audiences know that the UFC is no longer a realistic, mirror of martial arts skill because of all the rules that they've imposed over the last, 30 years. I mean, when I did it, there was 3 rules. Now there's 32 rules, I think.
I got no idea.
And that's not, it's a great sport, but that's what it is now. It's a sport. It's not really, it's close to a martial art as you can get, but it's not reality.
No.
Like the
there's no
knees,
rocks
like
in the octagon to pick up and bash over your opponent's head.
Yeah. Well, like just the basic rules of like you can't knee somebody on the ground, right? You can't kick them on the ground. It's like, well, what are you talking about? That would be the first thing. Oh, his finger is touching the mat. You can't hit him. Bullshit. He starts coming up. My knee's going right into his skull. Sorry, that's a fight.
Bring back the Pride soccer kicks.
Yeah. That'd be great. I remember this was years ago. I don't remember what organization it was. I think it was Elite XC or Strike Force or something like that. It was Frank Shamrock against Renzo Gracie. And it ended up being a disqualification on Frank Shamrock. But what happened was Renzo had Frank Shamrock in side control. And I haven't seen the fight in years. I'd have to rewatch it. But I distinctly remember the ending where Renzo had Frank Shamrock in side control and he's holding him down, that head and arm hold down. And so what Frank Shamrock did, I would have done the same thing, is he was holding Renzo down tighter. He moved his hand out of the way and was kneeing him from the bottom into his head. And then they're saying, oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. And then I wasn't there and I'm not Renzo, so I can't say if it was a work or not. But all of a sudden, Renzo's like acting like, I don't know, he got invaded or something. And it was a very dramatic finish where he's just like, oh, my head hurts. I can't continue the match. And Frank Shamrock has said, hey, I thought this was a fight. If we're fighting, I'm going to hit this guy, And so they were like, well, it was the knee to the back of the head. I'm like, but he's sitting there holding him. Renzo wasn't advancing. And so to me, I was just like, all right, fuck it. All is fair in love and war. He moves his hand, boom, knees him in the head there to move him or knock him out. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mark. The amount of restrictions they've placed now on rules, it's almost like, well, what can you do?
It's like, well, it's all in the benefit for the safety of the fighters, which we all agree should happen. But you have to understand what creating rules does. Mm-hmm. When you are dominant, you want the least rules possible. When you're weak, you want a lot of rules to protect you until you become dominant. Then you want to get rid of all the rules.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Let me throw out a question to you guys. I pulled up some questions here. So it's getting hard for me to see. I mean, I got these new contact lenses, so it's hard for me to read stuff.
I got a new lens in my eye.
Yeah. So here's
two lenses, artificial. Oh, fuck that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Like
Sorry.
it? No, it's all good. So here's a question. Do you change your game depending on the leg of your opponent, on what leg the opponent has forward? So, and then he's saying, is having the head on the inside of the leg a good rule of thumb? I find it easier to get the leg.
You know?
If that guy finds it easier, keep doing it. Never change a scoring style or scoring technique or a winning style. Change a losing one immediately. I personally don't use that move really, but that's okay.
Me personally, I don't change anything. I wrestle how I wrestle. I'm worried about what I'm doing, not worried about what he's doing.
So the
And
follow up,
wrestling is
yeah,
not really an isolate. You can't really isolate a technique because they're never the same. There's always some variation of the opponent moving around on you, so you got to keep adjusting it. So there's just you can try and learn it perfect like you do a gymnastics move and just keep repeating over and over and over, and that's going to make you great. But it's never going to happen live. Like it happens when you're drilling.
Yeah. And
yeah,
I guess
So
I also use
that's what
my Dave Schultz superpower of dyslexia. Yeah, so if they changed which leg goes forward, I change which leg goes forward. I just go, oh, lefty, no worries, I'll swap. So it doesn't bother me. I do it the same
yeah.
both ways. So
It's funny because
that's
then
an
this
advantage.
guy was following up.
Dyslexia is an advantage in wrestling.
Yeah, he was saying,
It
well,
really
if the guy
is.
changes from his left leg forward to his right leg forward, what do you do if you're always left leg forward? Yeah. I mean, it depends on,
either
to your
put your
guys'
right leg
points,
forward,
it depends on what you like to do.
either put your right leg forward if you're not dyslexic and you can't do that. I guess square up or learn to wrestle outside his lead leg.
That's my, so for me, that's always my preference. I always like wrestling outside the lead leg.
Yeah.
So
So
that's always my go-to. So if whatever lead leg, I don't care what lead leg you have forward, I'm going to switch so I can wrestle outside your lead leg.
even if I don't switch,
Sorry, that's what I do.
here's the thing: if I've got my right leg forward, okay, so my right leg's forward, and he puts his left leg forward, and so basically our toes are touching. All I do is make sure that my right leg that's forward is always outside his left leg.
Exactly.
Now he's got no choice but to attack the back leg, which opens him up to cross faces, cutting angles, and sweep singles. That's all I do is just literally,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep that outside and put the head pressure back in. I'm forcing him
Yeah.
to be outside. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah.
I'm not following, but that's okay. I was thinking of something else.
No, so what I mean, Mark, yeah, it's maybe it's my, as I said, my dyslexia, I don't know, but it always works for me. If he's got his left leg forward,
It works for me too, the same way.
You hear that, folks? Dyslexia is an advantage.
superpower, right? So his left leg's forward and my right leg's forward. Yeah, so basically we're toe to toe. Yeah, his left, my right are forward. All I do is step my right.
He's keeping his right foot on the outside. Like this.
I didn't really pay attention to
Like
my
this.
opponent's.
See this? So you're going here.
Yeah,
Really?
I see. I didn't pay. I didn't pay attention to my opponents at all. I paid attention to what I was gonna do.
See what I said
And
earlier. I learned. Yeah, it's true. 100%. Yeah, you got to wrestle what you're doing.
No, you have to. There, the one time I watched my opponent was Mike Sheets when he was the first American in 4 years to pin me and to beat me, and he put in a figure four around my left leg, and then drove off of his right toe, and cross-face turked me so hard, and he arched my back so hard, and he turned me over and pinned me, and man, it hurt. And I had never felt. My brother used to do that to me, but this one was different. There was something different and more powerful. And so I had to go back into the video and watch what point did he create all that power. And it was at the point where he got my knee off the mat. So next time I wrestled him, I just glued that knee to the mat and I beat him, 6-2 and 13-1. But he never. But that was the only time I've ever focused on anything my opponents did. Now I know I'm different than a lot of people, but I'm always looking for shortcuts. And thinking about other people is just, I don't know. It's just not a shortcut, in my opinion. I mean, it's easy to focus on myself because we're all consumed with ourselves, right? So I just focused on my training, my technique, and just prayed to God that it would all come together when the time came.
That's
But it's not like I don't know what my opponent's doing. If he's got a stagger stance, of course I know that one leg is there and the other leg is the other way. But that didn't really, there's this thing, this intuitive wrestling is repetition is the key. But after a while, you guys know this, but the audience may not know this. After a while, it becomes not just second nature, but it becomes your body flows and assumes the perfect position every time you move somewhere. You don't have to think about putting your foot here and your hand here. Your body automatically assumes that perfect position every time, as you do that technique. But it took me 11 years to get to that point where wrestling was natural. Wrestling is the most unnatural thing a human can do, because if you want to turn, it's just like boxing. You know this, Adam. If you want to punch with your right, you have to turn hard to your left. It's like the opposite. But anyway, after a long time, I don't know what to call it. I call it intuitive wrestling, where your body takes over and thinks for you.
Yeah, I sort of call it muscle memory. Really.
Yeah, your body has its own mind. People don't understand that. And that mind you need to train that mind to take over when, in times of crisis. It's like these guys that, like these, I don't know, security guards. They're like, when the training just kicked in, you just, well, that might be true, but they shouldn't be saying that. Anyway, I don't know what the hell I got off on that tangent for but that's a concept that I don't think too many people even think about or even consider or anything. Because
I think for me,
it's a real, and unless you have to,
go on, finish what
I'll stop. You have to experience it yourself to know what I'm talking about. Just like I have to experience, I have to be you to experience what you know. Nobody can experience what somebody else knows or experiences. You can't put yourself into the mind of another person. So, anyway, that really that made me happy when I discovered that, because it took a lot of time to memorize all the moves and to try them all out. Thousands of moves, trial and error, trying to figure out, is there one of these that's going to work against the best in the world, and trying to figure out which one that is. And then when you realize it's not, even though you might have picked, 5 or 6 moves you can do against anybody in the world, that's nothing compared to wrestling intuitively I think my brother might have coined that term, intuitive wrestling, but I understood what he meant. In gymnastics, you have to be very precise. If you miss the high bar by 1 millimeter, you're going to break your neck. So you have to be very precise. Well, when you become an intuitive fighter, your hands and feet, they assume their perfect position down to the millimeter without any thought. Thought is interesting. It's necessary to learn your phone number, your address, but most people don't think about this. But thought is not healthy. You shouldn't be you should observe your thoughts, but you shouldn't be trying to control them. And that I learned that from this guy named Jay Krishnamurti. Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, he Bruce Lee is a big fan of his. So is Albert Einstein. But I learned just by random chance. I picked up one of his books trying to figure out how to get better at wrestling, and the stuff he said was like Zen. I was really into Zen for a long time, and I still sort of am, I guess. But the stuff he was saying, there was a chapter in there about how to eliminate fear. And I thought, if that's possible, I have to learn how to do this. And it wasn't so much like a how to eliminate fear in 3 or 4 steps. He never told you anything about what to do. He would just ask you questions. And I got to the point where I could tell you what he was going to say before he said it. And when you are aware of what's going on in your mind and in the world, and you're observing it in the present, your past dies. Everything that you've ever done in the past is dead and gone, and you start your life over right now. And so it didn't matter what somebody's record was. They've never met me, so it's just as difficult for them as it is for me.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but that's one of the most interesting things about wrestling to me is when you can get to that intuitive groove or flow, where your body just responds naturally and reacts intuitively. You don't have to think about it. I'm repeating myself. Okay, I'll cut.
I mean, look, I think it's great. And I mean, like, even in traditional Japanese arts and stuff, they talk about, the Mushin and Zanshin mind and stuff like that, that empty mind, which is the state you're talking about. Yeah, it's I guess we term it here being in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Once you're in the zone,
that's right.
The brain switches off and it's just on autopilot. This is what I need to do. This is this is happening. This is the reaction. This is happening. This is the reaction. Just get it done. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple, stupid, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you guys are saying. It's, Tony Robbins uses the term like a flow state, right? You want to work yourself into a flow state.
Tony Robbins doesn't know shit except how to lie and make money.
But the flow state is important. It's the same thing you guys are saying. Okay, here's another
He's copying
question.
guys like me. That's what he's doing.
The first person he copied was Jim Rohn back in the day. That was his mentor, and then he just marketed it.
But hey, it's America.
Okay, so here's a guy has a question regarding over-unders. So he's got an over-under position, and he says, I'm really having problems with my opponent backing up from over-unders. Are there any ways I can force a stalling call or maybe an attack while my opponent is backing up?
Say that again.
So he's got over-unders on his opponent, right? So they're in over-under. As soon as he
And
puts
your opponent's got
50-50,
over-unders on
right,
you, too.
right. Yes. So as soon as he hits the over-under, the guy's backing up and he's getting frustrated because he doesn't know how to complete any attack. He doesn't know what to do once the opponent is backing up off the over-under.
Your opponent's backing up, and
Yeah.
you're the aggressor, and the aggressor doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Push him really hard and take the point for putting him out of bounds. Do it enough times, he'll stop backing up.
Yeah, under the rules today, that would work.
Yeah, it would.
So outside of the out-of-bounds push-out, how can we help him?
You can go to a front headlock from an over-under.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. But if I'm in an over-under, I can take my head and push his head down and then come over the top for a front headlock.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, as Mark
People
said,
don't realize that because you're going from an upper... What's that?
No, go, Mark. Finish up. Finish what you were saying, buddy. There's a bit of the...
I was just saying people don't realize that because you're in a standing position 1 second, and the next second you're dragging him to the floor, and most people don't expect anybody to be able to do that from that tie up, because that tie up's so tight. You'd think, well, there's no room to move and front headlock him. Yeah, there is. You just roll. You just roll this arm over the top of the head. It doesn't have to go very far.
I think, if I look at this as microscopically as a issue of his technique once he initiates, one thing I think people kind of tend to ignore is how they're using their feet. So you can create a lot of weight and pressure into that person if you're attacking with the over-under, if you're on your toes and you're not flat-footed, and how they carry your weight and how you can circle them. So a lot of times if they're backing up, so they're here head to head, he's not pushing forward, he's not creating the pressure he needs because he's flat. A lot of times what I see is people are flat-footed and they're not on their toes enough to create the pressure, almost like make them carry your weight. The other thing is I don't see these guys circling. So they think the only option they have, right, push them out or they're disengaging. So what do I do? Should I let go? Versus one easy way to take that front headlock is if you start turning the angle, cut that angle, then boom, there's that, to your point, Mark, there's that front headlock right there. There's a lot of things you can do. I think you just kind of have to go with it. And this is the key to what you guys were just talking about, to avoid the thinking part and start feeling, right? Feel what they are doing and work your attack based on what you feel, not get into your head going, well, what do I do now? Right. And I think a lot of times what ends up happening also is people do not practice chain wrestling. So there's a lot of things we sit here, we're taking for granted because we're assuming these guys are already high level wrestlers. And the fact of the matter is 99% of the guys that listen to this show are primarily jiu-jitsu practitioners, right? They're not wrestlers. If they are wrestlers, they're maybe at a basic level, maybe at a high school level proficiency. And so they're still going step one, step two, what do I do here? Right? So what happens, and I've seen this in a lot of wrestling rooms, at least here in the US, in high school wrestling rooms, guys are so obsessed with just hitting one particular technique, they're not chaining anything together. They don't chain wrestle. So it's just like, well, what can you do? Well, here we have a couple of options, right? You also have inside trips. That'd be really easy. If somebody's backing out, I'm rushing them forward. Boom, I take an inside trip. Or I slide that down, right? Cut an angle. How about I step off to the outside and grab a 2-on-1, a Russian off that overhook, right? Or how about I cut that angle again? Boom, hit that Schultz front headlock. They're fucked. You hit that front headlock, give them a good club, a good old-fashioned Schultz club to the back of the head, wrap that front headlock. They'll be seeing stars. You'll have them on the mat in about 3 seconds.
What's great about the front headlock is you got all your weight on top of the guy, and you got to carry his own weight plus your weight.
Oh, yeah.
Plus you're choking the shit out of him. You're cutting his blood supply off to his brain. And, you're... So even if he survives the front headlock and gets away, he's going to be worse off than he was before the front headlock. He's going to be a little, more out of breath. And, there's a lot of really easy finishes from the front headlock, and a lot of great submissions from the front headlock. And, you can just kind of, bounce around on your toes and make him carry all your weight while you're thinking about changing up to whatever technique, submission hold you want. So that's why I like it. Yeah, it's a good move. I like it better without the arm, to tell you the truth. The only reason I have that arm is because it's forced. We have to have an arm under wrestling rules, but without an arm, it's a lot easier to choke.
Oh, yeah. The no choke without the arm. But I tell you, the Ruotolo brothers, the stuff that they're doing, all their little front headlock variations with their Darce, their Anaconda, and all that, they really chain it together very well. Okay, here's another question for you guys with regards to underhook offense. Okay, topic is underhook offense. So this guy's saying, I am working on my underhook system. I don't know how he has a system, but okay. My primary attack is a far knee pick from my underhook. He says, I'm having a hard time getting into the underhook when guys keep their elbows in tight. When I can't get that position, I feel like my offense is stuck. How can I better use their elbows in defense to either force the hook or set up a different attack? I'm looking for shots I can chain on both sides of the body, and I'm not just relying on one entry.
You know what I would do?
Seems you are if you look at.
Let's say I got an underhook here. I would, if I have an underhook, I'd push the head away and then roll my hand over the top of the head and get him in a front headlock.
There's a front headlock again.
And then from there, I can either, choke him out here, or a lot of different ways to choke him out once you got him in the front headlock. You can pull him down.
Mm-hmm.
You can spin away from him, like create centrifugal force, and then pull him down into the front headlock.
I think what this kid, the number one issue this guy's having, which I get, and we're all going to have our different perspectives on this, is he's obsessing over getting an underhook, and he doesn't know what to do. He's still trying to get an underhook. If he can't get an underhook, how does he get an underhook? If I really summarize this down, if the guy has tight elbows in, how does he expose the elbow or open him up for an underhook? Right? Number one, he's not, I can tell you right now, he's not hand fighting. And he doesn't know how to peel an elbow for a drag.
It's a bad question, to tell you the truth.
Come on, Mark. There's no bad questions. Everybody has their issues. We got to be kind.
No. I mean, the way that he's phrasing it's not a bad question, but the way he's asking it is he's like assuming that he doesn't have the strength to get. He's saying that he just can't get an underhook when this guy's not letting him, and we don't know what this guy's doing to him, and we don't know how strong he is. We don't know anything about him. and now we're going to solve his problem. There's a lot of things you can do. There's like almost an infinite number of things you can do. It's just he's acting like he can't do anything. And you got to get a little creative, when you're in wrestling. Wrestling it's an art form, and it takes a long time to get good at it. It takes a long time to see the art, to see the beauty in it. But I don't understand that question, because he's saying I can't get an underhook. Well, why do you need an underhook? Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you can get it. Maybe you're just not strong enough. We don't know anything about this kid or his opponent.
I think there's a lot to it. And one thing we kind of touched on and glossed over, which is incredibly important, Mark, and you brought it up again, is the infinite variability when we're wrestling, right? There's an infinite number of variables. So we can't always have a hard and fast rule. If you do X, Y is guaranteed to happen. It's not true. There are no guarantees in any form of grappling. I don't care. We're doing jiu-jitsu, judo, sambo, whatever. There's no guarantee that just because you did XYZ technique or entry that your desire is going to be accomplished. And it has to be understood that that's the only absolute. The absolute is that there's infinite variables. Right?
Yeah. It's not the same, but it's almost the same. The only thing that guaranteed to change is change itself.
Yeah. It's okay. You can't get the underhook. Okay. How are you drilling your underhook entries? Like, how many underhook entries do you have? How are you setting it up? Are you controlling the hands? How do you peel the elbow? I mean, to me, it's just like, okay, this is obviously a folk style guy asking this question, but I'm visualizing a folk style guy trying to get underhooks on a Greco world champion. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to get it. Try something else. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but you have to understand your level.
Yeah, he's putting his opponent, he's making his opponent part of the question, which is not a good idea. You can't do that, because that's an infinitely variable variable. So you have to focus on just yourself, what you're doing, your technique, your counter. When I wrote my wrestling book, I would put the tie up on top, like high crotch or single leg or double leg, or whizzer, or underhook, double overhook, over under, front headlock. And then I have another page. And then I would put all the finishes below that tie up. And then on the back of that page, I would put all the counters to that tie up. And I would dedicate one full page to each tie up. And I had another page for reversals, escapes, and pinning combinations. And then I started doing, like you said, Brian, chain wrestling. And I started creating these chains. And I had to stop after a couple pages, because I realized these things could go on into infinity. Yeah. I'm wasting my time doing this. So that's why I stopped doing the chain wrestling thing. But yeah, see, when you do that, you're focusing on yourself. you're focusing on your muscle memory and your technique. And that's what, you know, that's what really matters. I mean, your opponent's going to be making you change and adjust, but it's you that matters. Your technique, your position, your body, your mind. It's a very selfish sport. So anyway, I forgot the question again.
No, it's the underhooks. Okay, I've noticed numerous questions, and we'll wrap it up with this one. And so don't get annoyed with this, guys, because I already know what you both are going to say. There's multiple questions about the same topic, and it has to do with escaping off the bottom if somebody's trying to pin you. What are the most efficient and effective ways to get off the bottom and to prevent the pin?
To get up, okay. All you got to do is watch my match with Bannock in the second period. I'm on bottom, and the whistle blows, and I go into this like a turtle shell, and that's very unusual in wrestling. Usually you'll see guys explode off the bottom. They'll stand up, they'll get their feet out in front of them, and then they start peeling the fingers and throwing the head back, throwing their hips away, and then cutting away.
Mhm.
But I went right into a shell there. I don't know. I think I was trying to lure him into doing something, or as long as you got your elbows in tight to your side, and he can't get his hands underneath those elbows and around your waist, he's gonna have it won't be able to hold you down, because the
I don't know about collegiate wrestling, but let's not forget that in freestyle, you're not allowed to draw your elbows to your waist now. That changed the rule.
You're what?
In parterre in freestyle, you can't pull your elbows into your waist anymore, your ribs. They can't touch your ribs. You actually have to keep it open. That's the rule now in freestyle.
Wow.
I don't know about collegiate, but in freestyle, yeah, you can't do anything. You can't even attempt to escape before he's actually locked up.
You can't pull your elbows to your sides.
No.
That's going to be interesting. If that might not be so bad, because most guys don't want to pull their elbows to the side. If they do, they're in danger of getting gut wrenched, trap arm gut wrenched.
Yep. And that's true.
Now, what about if you're on your back? Because it seems like these guys are getting stuck when they're on their back and somebody's trying to set up a pin on them.
Roll to your stomach.
What
if they're having a hard time rolling to their stomach?
Work harder.
How are you going to get up? Work harder.
This
well, I don't know what
jiu-jitsu helps a lot.
It does.
If you think of wrestling, if you've been put on your back and held down, cradled, whatever it is, you've made a major mistake.
Yeah, big time.
It is you've done, you've made a major mistake prior to that happening, so you need to work extra hard to fix that mistake. You need to scramble. You need to get to your stomach one way or the other, or get pinned. That's it. That's the bottom line. Whichever way you need to get to the stomach, whichever way you need to get the pressure off you, whichever way you need to turn out of that pin, that's what you got to do. That's the bottom line. That's the answer to it. The fact that you've been pinned and you're in a pinning predicament where he's get close to having your shoulders flat on the mat, you fucked up somewhere. Basically, largely, yeah, you've made a mistake, and it's an epic mistake in wrestling to be put on your back and in that position. You've got to really pull out all stops and use whatever you can think of to get back to your stomach or get out of that pinning position, or you're going to lose. I mean, I'd like to give you something more technical, but there's not. If you're hooked up and he's really got you held down, it's balls to the wall, everything you can do to get out of that. There is no technical answer, especially if someone's got you
That's right.
cradled well.
Oh, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's right. What he's saying is, whoever wants it more is going to get it, and he's going to bite and fight and elbow and knee his way out of there until he's out, or he's going to get pinned.
Yeah. I think here's what I think is happening with these questions when I'm noticing these questions. And it's the same thing when I get jujitsu questions. It's the same exact thing. It's like when somebody says, well, how do I escape this armbar when they have my arm fully extended and blah, blah, blah. People are looking too much at the end. They're looking at the finish and they go, well, how do I escape the finish, or how do I counter the finish, instead of reverse engineering and saying, well, why did you get there? To your point, Adam, which was very astute. Why did I get there to begin with? What techniques, what skills, what must-have skills am I missing that put me in this position? Because at the end of the day, if somebody has a good submission on you, you stop asking, how do I escape the submission? You got caught. If somebody's got a good cradle on you and you're getting pinned, yeah, exactly. You're fucked. You got caught. You're in a bad position because you didn't work on your must-haves, your key fundamentals. And I think people are glossy. At the end of the day, we have a glaring issue in the world of grappling. Doesn't matter if it's wrestling, submission wrestling, jiu-jitsu, luta livre, whatever, where people are so obsessed with how do I get out of the finish instead of what do I need to work on so that that situation doesn't occur to begin with. Right? And there are must-haves that you have to have. How many hip switches are you working on? How many turns are you working on? How many, rolls are you working on? Are you working on getting up? Are you working on the most fundamental things, what I've decided to call must-haves? Because when people say you're not working on your basics, I have to get past that. Basics aren't for me, or fundamentals aren't for me. No, there's must-haves. Ultimately, there are certain must-haves that you need to be training on the daily that I think people are missing, and that's putting them in these positions.
So I call that foundations, foundational wrestling, and we call it the 30 dozen here, Brian. You've seen my, the foundation 30 and the dozen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All these things, and it's what Mark was talking about before, where your brain switches off and your body takes over. Like, I do drills here where I have my guys take takedown after takedown. Not allowed to do it. They're just getting taken down one after the other. And our whole purpose is mid-takedown, roll to your stomach. I don't want you hitting the mat on your back. Hit the mat, already turn into your stomach.
Mm.
Yeah, you get double legs, start spinning your shoulders to turn to the mat. I make it a muscle memory that they're looking to put their stomach on the mat.
Yeah. One thing I did was when somebody was taking me down or turning me to my back, is I do this a lot in jiu-jitsu, where they curl up into kind of a ball on the side, and they start kicking their opponent away. And you're basically just pushing him away, kicking him away, and trying to whizzer your way out of there until, you get a whizzer. And then, you can play it, you can face off with him after that. But, I would just do kind of a jiu-jitsu move. I don't know, what do you guys call that, the moves where you're on your back and you're controlling your opponent's knees and hips with your feet? Do you have a name for that, or no?
It's like an open guard.
Open
Yeah, I mean, it's an open guard depending. Yeah, it's just open guard. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I did to avoid getting taken down and turned, and curl up into a ball and start kicking him like a little kid, just like, I don't want to go to bed. That's true.
Yeah, I think ultimately, when we look at the chain of questions that we reviewed today, it comes down to the same thing. The people are tending to ignore the foundations. We'll use Adam's term. They're ignoring the foundations because they just want to rush to the end result. And you cannot escape the foundations. Your must-haves, your foundational components of wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever, they cannot be ignored. And the more I see these videos, technique videos, BJJ Fanatics and all that, they're ignoring all of your actual foundations. Because the foundations is what wins matches. Right? I think we can all agree on this.
Gymnastics is another good foundation.
Yeah, learn your body.
That's my experience, because I was a gymnast before I was a wrestler.
You have to learn your body
so much. It helped me learn that. You remember that scene in Avatar where those Na'vi are swinging in the trees, and the one guy goes, "My new Na'vi body, Avatar body, is learning how to do this better now."
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's talking about the brain inside his body, not the brain in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gymnasts have to rely on. That's what wrestlers eventually learn is the best thing to rely on. So anyway.
That makes sense. Well, as always, this has been enlightening, gentlemen. We have a lot of information, and we see a common theme, right? People are just focusing on the wrong stuff. We highly encourage you all, if you are starting young, get out there, do gymnastics concurrently with wrestling, or even jiu-jitsu for that matter. You have to learn how to use your body. Period. End of story. And whatever martial arts you're doing, whatever grappling arts you're doing, stop focusing on the end. Okay? I know it's sexy. I know it's flashy. I know it's fun. But I can guarantee you do not have your foundations down. You don't have your must-haves, your fundamentals down. And on top of that, because these great grappling gods here that you are listening to, Adam Tibbetts and Mark Schultz, will tell you, just because you've drilled and practiced your foundations doesn't mean you abandon them. This is the daily. This is, you don't have it, your house will fall apart. There is never a point in your life when you're grappling and you're competing that you can say, "Oh, I know my fundamentals. I don't need to work on them." Bullshit. It's a daily thing. I can't remember who was on, and they were talking to us about how after a practice, he saw Cale Sanderson going with a coach to the side. In 30 minutes, he was working extra footwork training after practice.
Is that Bill Shear?
Right? Maybe it was. I don't remember who it was, but somebody was telling us that they were watching what Cale was doing after practice, and there's never such thing as your fundamentals are perfect, your foundations are perfect. It's not. It's as a daily grind, and to get it right means you never stop working on it. There's always nuances. And you have to focus on developing on the daily. Yeah, you can add your sexy stuff at the end, but you cannot get away from your foundation. You cannot. The minute you do that, you're going to fuck up.
Yeah, look at Jordan Burroughs and the double leg.
Mm.
How much more foundational can you get than the double leg?
Mm-hmm.
You'd think that people would have figured out how to stop it by now, right? Because everybody does it, right? Nobody can stop his double leg. So it's not the technique. It's not. It's who you are.
Yeah.
That's
That was the
what
same
it
thing with
comes down
same thing with Hodger Gracie and what made his jiu-jitsu so amazing. And people go, "Oh, his jiu-jitsu is basic." No, it's foundational, and he repeated it over and over and over again. And it didn't matter how technical his opponents got, how fancy, how many titles they had. He spanked all of them with the same foundations over and over and over again. You could not stop it. Jordan Burroughs, another example. How many humans can do what Jordan Burroughs can do? Very few, if any, right? How many stop it? Pretty much none. Why? Because the guy's relentless with his foundational technique, repetition, repetition, repetition. You can't get around it. You want greatness, repeat the foundations and don't stop.
Hey, buddy, how you going? Hey, you missed it.
And with that,
You
guys,
missed
like, subscribe, and share. Nevin Eyewear. We'll get to it. Nevin Eyewear, Road
this.
Gears.
All good, brother.
Okay. Spartan
Yeah,
Spartan
can you hear me?
cans.
Yeah, I'm here.
And we will see you next time. Boom.